Alright everybody, let's try this over again. I did a video earlier and my SD card ran out of memory, so I'm gonna just redo this video. But a little update from yesterday. Like I said, yesterday I had it running, and it just didn't want to keep running, and it was leaking in the carburetor down here. This Petcock, there's a screen in here, and on the other side the lever, I thought the lever was backwards, but I just I got it to I got the leak sealed. I got the leak. I took this apart, cleaned it. I took the whole carburetor off and took the intake off here, and I put a new gasket on. I made a gasket for they sent me a gasket. These are real thin gaskets for these things, but I wanted to put a thicker one on there, give it a little better seal. And this stuff here, you get this ABC parts, ABC wholesale parts, auto parts store, Mr. Gasket Company Performance. It's only like 10 bucks for a sheet, 10 by 10 sheet, I think it is. But I used it to make a exhaust. This is a high temperature gasket, so you can actually make an exhaust gasket out of this stuff. And I used this stuff to make my hammerhead exhaust pipe gasket too. That worked really good. But I made that gasket. I don't know, but I think this bolt over here is maybe stripped too on the other side. But I was going to take this. I didn't want to take the whole damn thing apart again. I took the carburetor off and checked the float bowl. And the float bowl in this thing, right down in here, the float was kind of like a little bent up, and I kind of like eyeballed it and got it looking straight and everything in it. And I took the calipers and had to go online because there's not a whole lot of information on float adjustments, but for this particular model. And what you do is you take and flip this thing upside down, and you set it up like that. The float bowl kind of like lays there. There's a needle there with a little pin. There's a little pin in the needle that lets the gas inside here, and it just kind of rests on that little pin there. And then you take your calipers, and you just measure. It's 0.20 millimeters, by the way, if anybody's wanting to know. So you take your calipers and you put them on the base of the carburetor, and you measure up 0.20 millimeters. And then you can bend the little tab a little bit, just a little bit at a time. So I ended up doing that. And on the other side, and in here, the screen, it was a little dirty inside there. It wasn't that bad. And there's a pipe that runs all the way through here. It goes on to the other side where the lever is, the Petcock valve or whatever you call it. And there's I shortened these two lines up so it wasn't rubbing up against the pipe here. But I shortened these up a little bit. And on the other side, there's the lever, shuts it shuts it off, and then you put it in the middle. It's on reserve, and you flip it all the way over to one side. It's on the regular, because inside the tank there's two pipes that come up where the two lines come in. One's like that tall, and that's your main. And then there's another one that's like a reserve that's like this tall or something like that. That's like your reserve line. So when you run out of gas in there, you just turn the valve a little bit to reserve, and it'll let it flow through the. A lot of people just run it off reserve, and they just block the other one off. I don't know, but that's kind of a backup in case you run out of gas, and you got a little bit of reserve to get you home. I don't know how many gallons that thing holds. I'm not really sure, but I did get it running today. I took it outside, and I was having some trouble. I was having an issue with the I was trying to get it to idle right, and it wouldn't idle, and I had to hold the thing down. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I kept messing with the idle and the idle jet, and it just wouldn't do anything. I don't know what it was. I thought it was my tank, that air vacuum leak, that vacuum lock. That's not it. And right here, it was like where the pipe goes into the air cleaner to here. It just wasn't getting enough airflow, and I don't know if the it probably needs a rebuild kit or something, or maybe a new carburetor. You can get one for you can get a new one and a new cable for like $26. They're in the United States here too from eBay. So I may still do that. I have to wait till I get paid again. But I did get it started once I took this tube off here, and it started running. I got the idle speed right, and the air mixture was running really good. So I put it out, popped it in gear, and sure enough, I just took off, and it went through all the gears, but it was shifting really hard. It was lurch forward, and as I had redone the clutch in here, when I did the clutch inside here, I took all the pieces out, and each metal piece I did what you'd call a honing part, where you take like 240 grit sandpaper, and just ran the rings around it, around in a circular pattern, and until there was some bluing on there, and I just cleaned the clutch up really good and checked everything looked good, put it all back together. And I think what was going on with it needs the oil needs to flow through the engine a little bit, because they're probably a little dry. And when I first put this back together, this was really tight in here. So just earlier, I just went and loosened this nut up, and I guess you're supposed to turn this screw counterclockwise to get some resistance, and then you back it off at 8. Well, before I couldn't even hardly move the screw. So I think what happens was that once the oil got in there, it started getting lubricated in there, it loosened it up. And so tonight, I just backed it. I turned two or three turns, so I loosened it up, and I backed it off an eighth of a turn. So I won't know how it's going to run until I go back out tomorrow. It's too late right now to take it out. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I got to run it through the house, walk this thing through the house, and take it out the front door. And I wish there was a patio door right here. I'm thinking about putting one in. Have a shop door there. But I did drive it around, and it was giving me full throttle. With that open though, that's the only thing that bothers me a little bit. But I kind of think that the clutch was too tight, and maybe with the clutch readjusted, because maybe it was putting a drag on the engine, maybe, because it was turned in about three turns, and that screw was like pretty far in. So maybe with the new clutch adjustment, maybe it'll run better. you know, idle better. Because it was a little bit hard to kick over, you know. But I had replaced this screw down here. I put a new bolt. Before, you know, this is stripped out in here, so there was somebody drilled a hole all the way through this piece here, and I stuck a more of a harder bolt through here. Hopefully it doesn't break this time. And this bottom part, you know, I got it as tight as I can, but you know, as best I can do. But it's working, you know. No, it's not. I don't want to mess with it right now. But it did run, and I might do a video of me on it running tomorrow. Good thing on my head, and we'll see what happens. That's where I'm at right now with it. But we'll see. Maybe it's just maybe the clutch was just too tight. I'll just have to find out. All right, then. That was my update for today for the progress report on this. So, all right, everybody have a good night. It's still going. I'm still going. Okay. Oh, what's I got here?